Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Hightop Sports. Today, we're going to be discussing a few surprise visits that have happened today. We've been talking about the visits that have been happening all week, a few crystal balls that have came in, had some commits obviously happen during the week. Now we're getting some more good news on two surprise visitors, and we're also going to discuss an article that was released about Princely discussing his thoughts and opinions of the strength and conditioning program. A lot of you probably already read it. I'm going to go over it, give you my thoughts and opinions about it. And then obviously, of course, would love to hear from you guys in the comment section below. But it's interesting. I think he's saying everything that we already felt and knew. But again, it just, with all these players leaving and you're hearing from parents and the players themselves, just a lot of negativity. Is it because it's just the new world we live in, or is it that bad? We're going to talk about all those things here in just a moment. But first order of business is two wide receivers are visiting today, which is very exciting stuff. Obviously, we've already landed ourselves one in Shamir DK from Wisconsin. Great addition coming from Wisconsin. A lot of experience under his belt alongside playing with Graham Mertz, which really excites me. Now, we have a hell of a young class, a young core coming in, but I think we can all agree we definitely could use some experience. So the two names that are entered in today, first being Malik Benson, who was the number one overall recruit across the board in 2021 that was heavily recruited from Florida during then, but ultimately ended up committing to Alabama. Obviously, is now entered into the portal, 5'11", 185. A lot of talent here. He's been dipped down to a 4-star now, obviously being after 1 year. I think he had about 6 catches or so. His last 13 catches with 162 yards and a touchdown at Alabama this previous season. This would be a big get up again, with some eligibility left to go with this young core that is coming in. Again, right now it's crystal ball to land at Florida, but these things I feel like they move around pretty quickly. These aren't as set in stone as a typical crystal ball, but so far we're batting 1,000 from not 1,000, maybe like an 85% from the ones that I've showed you. So Malik Benson right now, again, at one point was a 5-star number one recruit across the country, essentially what Jeremiah Smith was this year. Not saying he's Jeremiah Smith, just the same level of talent when coming out of that recruiting cycle. Could be a really big get if we're able to pull him in. And seeing what Eugene Wilson did last year, I'd imagine Malik would kind of give you that same kind of vibe. You get a little Malik, you get a little Eugene, you give him a little Shamir DK alongside this up-and-coming wide receiver talent. Things are starting to come together. But the one that really excites me is CJ Daniels out of Liberty. Now, there's been a ton of noise about offensive coordinator Willie Korn, who is the offensive coordinator currently at Liberty, right, coming to be the offensive coordinator at Florida. I'm not saying there's any correlation here, okay? But we've got a wide receiver who visited Auburn. He left Auburn and is now visiting Florida. Typically, it's the other way around. They come hang out at Florida for a little bit. Then they go, I like everything here, but I'm going to go check my options out, and then go to Auburn or A&M, and we end up losing out on them, right? So this, to me, is exciting because it's finally the roles are reversed. The next question, is this going to mean that we're also getting the offensive coordinator? Look, I don't know if it's a package deal, okay? However, 6 foot 179, had over 1,000 yards receiving last year. We, as most Gator fans know, Ricky was just like 60 yards or 50 yards short of hitting that, so we didn't have ourselves one. He had 10 touchdowns across the games as well. I know they had a poor performance in the bowl game against Oregon, but is what it is. That's how that works. So could we see an offensive coordinator come alongside with CJ Daniels? We'll see. But definitely keep the bell turned on. Again, I expect some commits to continue to flow in this weekend. When it's going to happen, that part we may never know. And I like that. I like kind of being on the wits here. On 3 does have him, not crystal ball to Florida, but it's 53 Auburn, 46.7 Florida. So it's a tight one here. It's a close one. He was 0 stars coming out of high school. He is now a 4-star on his college rating at a 91.0. So you got to love that. The way these ratings work, obviously, is a little bit different than when they are coming out of high school, but you've got to like a 4-star guy, his college rating being a 4-star versus the high school, because it is obviously more of an experience level. So let's just paint the picture here. Shamir DK, CJ Daniels, Malik Benson, Eugene Wilson. All of a sudden, Amir Jackson, Arlis Boardingham. All of a sudden, this wide receiver core, son. So we may not have anybody to block to get them the football, but son. Okay? So this would be a complete overhaul of the wide receiver room, which is something that's been working its way back, but hasn't really shown great light of it. It felt like just for the last few years, we've been just piecing it together. This, to me, would really be, hey, this is to make up for the lack of wide receivers. And especially with someone like DJ Lagway, was a big question mark, a big head scratcher to me. Like, how are we not landing more guys like just the big time guys like a Jeremiah Smith or a TJ Moore who just balled down an All-American bowl game with a couple of tutties, right? How do we not intriguing these guys? Is what it is. We're using that advantage to go into the portal. And with guys that have some eligibility left. I don't believe CJ Daniel does. I think this may be his last year, but Malik Benson does. And I think he probably sees like, hey, there's a bright future here at Florida with DJ Lagway coming in. Would like to go play for that. So all good stuff there. And then, of course, the article that most people probably have already seen, but I want to read it quickly here, and then we'll go over it. So this was Princely's. He spoke about the difference from, when Coach Savage was doing the training program versus when Mark Hawk took over. He says, I feel like there are a difference between how you train by what conference you are in. So like whenever we trained in the offseason under Savage, we were working as strong as we could be. You're going against 300-pounders trying to run the ball down your throat. You better be rocked up. The SEC is bully football, if that makes sense. You better be able to go heads up with that or you're going to get bullied. With them, the new staff, i.e. Mark Hawk, coming from Louisiana, I'm not trying to put anyone down, I don't know, felt like we were training to be a part of the Pac-12 instead of the SEC. The last 2 years, it felt like that we focused more on conditioning and running than lifting weights. I was getting so small in the offseason because we weren't lifting enough heavy weights. No joking. Not joking, I imagine. If you looked at our offseason workouts, you would think we were on a track team. That isn't going to work in the SEC. As far as the weight room goes, Coach Savage's program was to make us big and strong, and we were going to have endurance too, but I don't feel like that was the emphasis with this strength program. With Coach Savage, the focus was on deadlifts, bench, squats, all the core lifts, and the focus on shoulders and neck on the side, so we didn't have many concussions or shoulder injuries. This program was focused more on snatches, power cleans, and stuff like that. And in my opinion, that didn't really help you dominate the guy in front of you and who's been pushing heavyweights all offseason. Doing a snatch is going to help you with its explosiveness, but it doesn't do me any good against a 350-pound lineman putting his hands on me in the run game. Now, we all watched the game. Explosiveness was not a word I would have used either. Now, in the spring game, we had it, but we seem to have lost it into the games. And yes, I think we can all agree, and this was something that we talked about after the season ended, that there was some concern that Mark Hawk may have not been fired. And I go, look, I think we can all agree we look like the smaller unit out there, right? Outside of being in the right position, play calling, etc., we just look to get beat left and right. The play that I keep remembering is Derek Wingo just getting blasted by the running back, Miguel Mitchell getting blasted by the wide receiver when he should have hit somebody. We lacked a ton of physicality. Princely definitely looked a lot smaller going into this season. Somebody that we expected to have a massive season. He expected himself to have a massive season, and he's right. It's like, bro, if I'm a light 250 going up against a 350-pound lineman who's just been lifting just weights and eating burgers all damn season. I'm not moving that son of a gun. I don't care how swifty I am. I don't care how explosive I am. I'm not blowing through that. And I think we can all agree. The reason I bring this up and the reason I wanted to talk about it is because obviously we know there's changes been made. We bring in a new strength and conditioning coach alongside a new nutritionist that has strength and conditioning experience as well. We always said we love the move. I think it's even more reason, hey, we love the move. The question is, and I know from the Billy haters, and I always see their side of, and I'm not trying to say you guys Billy haters, but the more, I guess, pessimistic point of view, let's go with that, would be why not sooner? And I think it's a great question because you should have noticed from year one, hey, we seem to be a step behind. Why is that? And those are some things that is it a little too late is the question. And look, I think you have to let a process go through itself. And maybe that was the 2 years. Because now we're seeing a complete overhaul in everything. Billy goes in and does a complete overhaul year one like that. People are going to be asking questions too. So you're never going to win, to be honest with you. Take a look at what Kelly's doing now at LSU. He's doing a complete overhaul. Auburn seems to be making some changes as well, some pretty aggressive changes here in the offseason too. So I think most coaches are trying to make moves faster rather than later. But sometimes you can rip the bandit off too fast. So again, there's no right way of maneuvering this thing around. Unfortunately, like we've all discussed, it feels like Billy's back's against the wall. And again, these moves could be a little too late where they may be the right moves, but they would have been a better move last year because you had a freebie this year, allow those guys to get established. And now we're heading into this year with a more established program. Maybe we don't lose a few guys. Now we're humming. But that's obviously hearsay. We're in this thing now. At least their changes have been made. And look, we were talking about that and I was concerned that a change would not happen. So I am glad a change has happened in the strength and conditioning room. Let me know down in the comment section below, guys, your thoughts on the guys that are visiting today alongside this noise from Princely. I know that's kind of starting to make its rounds and people's thoughts and opinions are starting to come from that. But Also, be sure, smash the like button, subscribe, turn the bell on, because again, we're expecting some things to heat up here in the next few days, hopefully with some more commits from the transfer portal. It's going to be a good one, boys and girls. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.